Day one in the first criminal trial against Donald Trump is complete. This is a criminal case against Donald Trump for his making of fraudulent business records to interfere with the 2016 election. We will be doing recaps each and every day here on the Midas Touch Network, along with Karen Friedman Agnifilo, who previously served as the number two in the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. And she has close to 30 years of experience working in that office, leading that office, and will give us firsthand experience about what is taking place. Karen Friedman Agnifilo is currently having some issues with the Wi-Fi. Before Karen Friedman Agnifilo joins, what we would like to do is show you a graphic of everything that went down today. But this just in per courthouse pool reporters, Justice Merchan just rejected, and this was moments ago, folks. So we're literally bringing you these things as it develops second by second. And this just in per the courthouse pool reporters, Justice Merchan just rejected a request from Donald Trump to be excused from the trial next week so he can attend Supreme Court arguments on his claim for absolute presidential immunity in the Washington, D.C. criminal case. So, folks, Justice Merchan, who's presiding over this case, is not messing around, and Donald Trump is quite literally unable to handle the pressure and stress of being in this criminal trial. I mean, it was just one day, and we predicted a lot of things correctly here on the Midas Touch Network, but did not predict on our Trump criminal trial bingo card that Donald Trump would repeatedly be falling asleep during today's proceedings. It was first reported by Maggie Haberman that Donald Trump fell asleep during the morning session and then kind of jolted awake when he heard his name being called after a few minutes of just falling to sleep. Yes, hashtag Sleepy Don is now trending across the United States of America and the world. And then in the afternoon session, Donald Trump also on multiple occasions would close his eyes and then just start falling asleep for minutes on end. And I saw there were some reporters who were debating, is that sleeping? Is that napping? I don't know. It seems like sleeping to me. And a lot of this was in front of the potential jury pool as well. And Donald Trump could not stay awake as the jury was receiving instructions about them needing to be fair and impartial. Donald Trump just started dozing off and dozing off. Of course, everything with Donald Trump is projection, is confession. And so when he's out there attacking President Biden as Sleepy Joe or whatever, Donald Trump can't stay awake for one day or even the morning session of one day. And you may be saying, yeah, but didn't he attend these other cases? No, not really. The other cases were civil cases where he could kind of prance in and prance out, and he wasn't required to be there, and he would stroll out and then hold press conferences outside, and he would be able to show up whenever he wanted to, because in a civil case, you're not required to be there every single day. At every single moment. Only when you're subpoenaed to testify are you actually required to be there in a civil case. Of course, litigants normally show up to their cases, unlike Donald Trump. But in a criminal case, he has to be there. Not only does he have to be there, but Justice Merchan is rejecting the request from Donald Trump to even be excused from trial next week so Trump can attend an argument before the Supreme Court. Now, there'd be no reason for Donald Trump to need to attend that argument before the Supreme Court. He's not arguing anything. There's no reason for him to be there. Donald Trump would probably use that as a campaign event or a way to then attack these proceedings over there. But these are very solemn and serious and sobering proceedings that are taking place in Manhattan. And Donald Trump is required to be there. throughout the day. These are going to be long, grueling days. The only day the court's going to be dark is on Wednesdays. So there's going to be no court proceedings on Wednesdays. Also, for the upcoming Passover holiday and other holidays, the court's going to be dark and not in session. But other than that, Donald Trump's going to have to show up in the morning. He's going to have to be there all day. He's going to have to sit there. He's going to have to shut up. And Justice Merchan warned him, if you are not here, I'm throwing you in jail. If you do not show up, you are going to jail immediately. I will issue a warrant for your arrest if you do not show up. If you misbehave, there will be serious ramifications. This is a criminal case. Do you understand me, Mr. Trump? And Trump apparently hated it when Justice Merchan called him Mr. Trump, Mr. Trump, Mr. Trump in front of the jury. We're going to create these graphics every day for you so you can follow along about the major developments that took place. We'll also post them on our social media, and we will also post the graphic on our Patreon site, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. But this is an easy way for you to follow along with all of the events that took place today, and you can keep track of it. The one event that we did not put on that graphic is what we just announced before, or just as we were going live, that per the courthouse pool reporters, Justice Merchan rejected the request for Donald Trump to be excused from trial next week. Let's put that graphic, Salty, on as we await for Karen Friedman Agnifilo's Wi-Fi situation to improve. Trump trial day one. Trump in the morning tried to argue his motion to recuse or get rid of Justice Merchan, and Justice Merchan immediately denied and rejected that motion to recuse and called the motion essentially frivolous, and that any claim that Justice Merchan's daughter should be a basis for recusal after the same type of recusal motion was rejected last week by the appellate division and about 9 months ago as well before with Justice Merchan, who received an ethics opinion on the same topic, that there is no conflict there at all. That motion to recuse was denied right away. The next issue to come up was evidence of Donald Trump's catch and kill scheme with David Pecker at AMI by their a plan, a pattern and practice of utilizing the National Enquirer to go after people who had bad stories about Donald Trump, people who Donald Trump had sex with while Melania was pregnant, like Karen McDougal, people who had stories that they wanted to go public with about Donald Trump in 2016. Trump would use AMI, the parent company of the National Enquirer, to buy the stories, the life rights of these people who had bad stories of Trump. They'd pay him off, and then they would kill the stories, not release the stories public. And then if the person wanted to go public with the story that they sold to the National Enquirer, the Enquirer would threaten to sue them, saying, we now own your life rights. We own those story rights. After a while, though, the National Enquirer got nervous that them doing this on behalf of Donald Trump in this very high-profile time period could constitute imputed income to Donald Trump. They were doing this favor for him. They were not paying taxes on it. Trump was not paying taxes on it. So by the time the catch and kill scheme with Stormy Daniels came along, the National Enquirer was like, we can't do this anymore because we could be criminally prosecuted for this as a form of tax evasion, buying off your victims or buying off people who you want to catch and kill their bad stories and giving you this benefit and then it not being declared on taxes. So then Trump had to come up with another way to catch and kill the Stormy Daniels situation. That went through Donald Trump's lawyer, Michael Cohen. Donald Trump then falsified business records, paying Michael Cohen to then pay off Stormy Daniels and treating that hush money payment to Stormy Daniels as legal fees when it was not legal fee. And that falsification of business records is at the heart of this case. And that's why the district attorney wanted to get in that pattern and practice of the catch and kill scheme. So that will be allowed in. Going through the list of Trump trial day one as well, the Trump subpoenas backfire. We reported how Donald Trump wanted to do a last-minute subpoena to the Department of Justice to get these records regarding Michael Cohen, and Donald Trump was really using this as a way to try to delay the trial. Remember all of that, where Trump says the Department of Justice just turned over all of these documents which could be exculpatory and they could help me. Turns out they're actually inculpatory. They don't help Donald Trump. They further incriminate them. And now, because Donald Trump tried that gambit, the Manhattan District Attorney now has more emails and text messages of people like Bannon, Kellyanne Conway, and Hope Hicks and others that they did not have before, showing this common plan and scheme by Donald Trump and those around him in 2016, right around the time the Access Hollywood tapes were released. So that actually backfired on Donald Trump. He did not get documents that helped him. He got documents that hurt him. He would have rather not have gotten those records. So we learned about that today. Then the Manhattan District Attorney filed a motion to hold Donald Trump in contempt for violating the gag order, threatening witnesses, and Justice Merchan will be holding a hearing on that April 23rd. We'll be expediting this hearing on holding Trump in contempt. That's what happened as well. We'll have Karen Friedman Agnifilo here in just a moment as she situates her Wi-Fi. So don't worry, we'll keep giving you the summary of everything that went down. So Justice Merchan expedited the contempt hearing to April 23rd. Then Donald Trump kept on falling asleep, fell asleep over and over again for minutes at a time. This happened in the morning and in the afternoon. Also, we learned that Donald Trump and his lawyers have not submitted their exhibits. Normally, you would submit your exhibits well in advance of a trial. No defense exhibits, zero. Donald Trump's lawyers tried to beg for additional time to submit their exhibits. Justice Merchan said you have 24 hours or there will be serious implications if you do not submit them. The jurors arrived at the trial. Trump fell asleep while the jury was being told how they need to be fair and impartial. There's about 200 jurors sitting outside of the court. 96 are able to fit inside the courtroom. Of the 96 that were in the courtroom, these are the prospective jurors, 50 of them said that they can't be fair, and they were disqualified as jurors and let go right away. And now there is the group of jurors who remain are being asked questions on voir dire about whether they could be fair and impartial. And you're getting a pretty fair cross-section of Manhattan with the remaining jurors who are there, and people saying things like, I believe no one is above the law. I don't care if you're a president or a janitor. I will apply the law fairly. So we're going to have that process take place of jury selection throughout the week. Now, honored to be joined by Karen Friedman Agnifilo to break down these proceedings as well. Karen, I know the Wi-Fi was an issue before. Hopefully it's working now. But I gave a summary of everything that went down today. We have our handy graphic that we're going to make available every day. What were some of the highlights, the lowlights, the surprises? Walk us through it, Karen.
Yeah, sorry, I'm here joining you, Ben, from a New York City taxi cab. So it was the best I could do in terms of just getting to a quiet place and to be able to join everybody. But yeah, so today was very routine in so many ways. It was very much like a normal court date where everybody shows up. There's a lot of waiting, a lot of downtime, a lot of talking about what they call housekeeping matters. That's what this morning was spent doing, was what are the motions that are still outstanding, what is the evidence that is still waiting to come in, or asking permission for various things. And we didn't get to jury selection until well into the afternoon, when the judge was finally saying, okay, we brought 500 people in, average everyday people who had been waiting long enough. it's time to bring them in and start asking questions. So this, in some ways, it's like the great equalizer, a criminal trial. It doesn't matter who you are or what your stature is in life or how rich you are or how poor you are, what your job is. Juries and courts and criminal trials all look the same. It's happened in the same courtroom as everybody else. You have the same questions as everybody else. And so in so many ways, this was very routine, including defendant Trump falling asleep, because it gets very boring with all of this. It's in some ways it goes much slower than the television would like anyone to believe. We haven't even gotten to the point where the lawyers get to start asking questions of the jurors. That will come tomorrow. It'll start going a little bit faster. I predict, Popak and I have a little friendly bet. I predict that we will have a jury by the end of the week, by Friday. And then Monday, there will not be any court because of Passover. And then on Tuesday, they will not sit with a jury. And that's when they're going to have, though, any other remaining issues that are outstanding, like this hearing on the gag order to see whether or not Donald Trump violated it. And the prosecution asked for an order to show cause today for that. And then on Wednesday, the judge says he's going to take his calendar day every Wednesday, although he's open to sitting on Wednesdays. So my prediction is opening statements will be on Thursday of next week. And we'll get a jury this week. Popak thinks jury selection is going to go into next week. It's possible. It's fun to make a bet, and we bet lunch to see which one of us will be right. Just opening my notes, just because I took some notes today of some things that I thought were highlights. Donald Trump said he was honored to be here. He also talked about how Joe Biden is involved in this trial. This is brought by Joe Biden. And I just think it's important that everyone realize Alvin Bragg has nothing to do with Joe Biden. Alvin Bragg is an independently elected prosecutor by the people of Manhattan. A couple of things that they did today was the prosecution asked, they had a Sandoval. They made a Sandoval motion, and they're going to have a Sandoval hearing now, but they had a motion today saying these are the prior bad acts, if Donald Trump testifies, that we want to talk about. And then they also, Donald Trump renewed his recusal motion, and he renewed that, and that was denied. And some of the stuff, interestingly, that the prosecution wanted to go into, for example, they wanted to talk about, in addition to the Access Hollywood tape, the sexual assault complaints that came out around that time, all part of stuff that Trump wanted to suppress at the time. And the judge said, I'm not going to allow rumor and innuendo prejudice Donald Trump. And I think that's a really good indication to show the judge is not a pro anything other than the law judge. He's not going to, he's the opposite of a judge who is a Trump hating judge or somebody who is biased, etc. He's really following the law, and he's not allowing anything in that's overly prejudicial, that yes, it might be probative, but if it's overly prejudicial, he won't let it in. So he's doing exactly what he's supposed to be doing. He's really a neutral judge. That's his reputation. And I think you're going to see more and more of that throughout the trial. He's going to call balls and strikes and rule things for both sides, depending on what he feels the law is. A few other things that I thought were interesting today was during voir dire, Trump asked to separate out people who can't serve because they have strongly held beliefs versus people who have conflicts, like a wedding that they have to go to or something. And the reason, and the prosecution agreed and said, we don't mind separating that out. It's interesting because both sides want that information. On the one hand, Trump wants it because he wants to be able to preserve his right to appeal and say, see, there's so many people who are biased in Manhattan. But the prosecution wants that too, because they're going to argue back and say, you know what, the system works. The questions worked. We were able to weed out those people who say that they can't be fair and that they're biased, because that's really what jury selection is about. Jury selection is not somebody who doesn't have any beliefs or doesn't have any opinions, or who may or may not vote for somebody. You might be a conservative, you might be liberal, you might not follow politics at all. None of that matters. What matters is, can you be fair and impartial sitting in this particular case? And you know yourself better than anybody. If you can't follow the law and listen to the facts and only listen to the evidence in this case, you might hate Donald Trump, but if the prosecution doesn't meet their burden, you have to acquit. And if you can't make that assurance, you can't sit on a trial. And so that's what jury selection is designed to do. And I think that's what I think it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out. But both sides want that information. A few other things that they talked about: the judge is not going to allow in the Access Hollywood tape itself, but he's going to allow in evidence, or they can talk about it, right? They can talk about the surrounding circumstances. And they're also not going to be allowed to talk about the fact that Melania was pregnant during his affair with Karen McDougal, because those are the things that the judge has ruled would be overly prejudicial. I'm just looking at my notes. That's why I'm not looking at the camera right now. Knowing that we're going to do this every day, I followed the trial obviously very closely and took notes of things I wanted to mention to people. Let's see. A few other things was, like I said, this order to show cause for the contempt of court for the gag order. We've been waiting for this for a while, why the prosecution hadn't asked for it, because as soon as the judge expanded his gag order, it was very clear that Donald Trump started violating it by whether it was reposting statements about the judge's daughter that other people were making, or whether it was criticizing witnesses, something he's not supposed to do. And the prosecution asked for $1,000 fine for each of the violations. There were 3 of them, and that's what they're asking for. Now, a lot of people might say, well, that's nothing to Donald Trump. That's like chump change. Why would they be asking for something so lenient and so light? What's the point? And the reason is this: because even if the judge does or doesn't bring a sanction here for those violations, it almost doesn't matter, because really what's happening is they're putting Donald Trump on notice, so that if he does it again, you have to do graduated sanctions. You can't, well, you can put someone in jail for violating it, like they did Sam Bankman-Fried when he violated a court order. The first time they just put him right in, and he had to stay incarcerated until trial and through the duration of trial. And then of course he was convicted and sentenced to prison. That's how normally a defendant would be treated. And, Donald Trump always says, oh, look, I'm being treated differently than everybody else. And he's right about that. He is, because any other defendant who behaved the way he has already behaved would have been put in a long time ago, but they're not doing that with him. And I understand why. What are they going to do? Have a Secret Service agent go into jail with him? So it's kind of logistically tricky. And also he's running for president, obviously. But the judge, if he ultimately is going to do that, he's going to start first with the lowest. First, he started with a warning, then he started with a gag order, then he expanded the gag order, then he's going to probably warn him again and maybe a small fine. And he'll just graduate to the point where if he's left with no choice, then I assume they'll put him in to a jail cell in the courtroom for a period of time. The court also gave just very routine instructions today. Things like, how much time do people want to question jurors? And do you want more time than normal? He's going to give the parties 30 minutes to each party, 30 minutes per panel, right? So as they get through a panel of jurors, and he gave all other basic instructions like remain seated, don't approach the witnesses when you're cross-examining them, all the kind of things that are so standard in every case. And another thing is, Ben, you and I talked about antimarchy, that case that gives a defendant a right to be present for all sidebars during jury selection, and if he's not, it's reversible error, but he can waive that. And the judge asked if he's going to waive his antimarchy rights, and he said no. And so now, so then the judge said, okay, so then we'll question everyone one by one, but we'll clear the courtroom and we'll have people come in one by one, because some people don't want to tell embarrassing things in front of a whole room. And so it was interesting that he wouldn't waive that. Many defendants do waive that because just to be, it's very inconvenient for the court and for jurors, but he didn't waive it. He wants to be there. So the judge basically was very mad at one thing today, which is the defense still hasn't given over their trial exhibits. And the judge was very frustrated by that because he said, look, we're starting the trial. You have to give over your exhibit list, and you haven't yet. And they complained that they've been so busy because the prosecution gave all those documents, et cetera. But he says you have 24 hours to do that. And after they got through all of these ministerial housekeeping things, they brought the jury in. They brought 96 people in, and the judge was very clear to the jurors. He said, "Look," he said, "you and you alone judge the facts. Okay, the judge has nothing to do with judging the facts. This is all about the jury." And it's interesting because I think people sometimes just kind of think, "Oh, it's so boring. Jury selection takes so long. Oh, the jury." It's all about the jury. The jury is the most important part of a case, of a trial. They are the ones who decide the facts. They're the ones who apply the facts to the law. And it's this jury that both sides pick. Donald Trump is going to pick this jury along with the prosecutor. These are his jurors, and they're the ones who are going to sit in judgment of him. And so the judge was reminding the jurors of that obligation. And like any other case, there were many jurors who said, "I can't be fair and impartial in this case." About 50 jurors left out of the 96, the initial 96, and they put 18 in the box to question, and then a few of those left. And, some people are commenting that that's a lot of people. That's like more than half the people who came in to have left. And they say, "Oh, that's a lot." And see, that shows that you can't have a fair and impartial jury. But I will tell you, any high profile case, any really serious case, any case where a lot of sexual assault cases, more than half the people get out of it just right off the bat, because either they have something in their personal life that they feel they can't. I mean, like I said, when I used to be a sex crimes prosecutor, just routinely, so many people would stand up and say, I can't be fair here. That's just not this case. There's something in my personal life or a family member or whatever. And so the more serious cases like this is, the harder it is to find people. So it's nothing unique to this case. But again, the system is designed for it. That's why the clerk, Milton Tingling, who's been doing this for many, 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 many years, he summoned 500 people to pick a team, because this is not his first rodeo. He knows that in a high profile case like this, you're going to have a lot of people who have strong feelings about it, largely because Donald Trump likes to bear out the facts and have a trial in the court of public opinion. And so as a result, you're going to have people with a lot of feelings about it. But this so far, I've seen nothing that strikes me as anything other than just a routine, boring beginning of a trial, jury selection. You're going to see it pick up a lot starting tomorrow, because they've gotten a lot of the housekeeping things out of the way. But like I said, it was so boring that even Donald Trump fell asleep for it. So this is just a day in the life of New York's criminal court, and here we go. The trial is actually starting. So tomorrow we're going to have the lawyers are going to start questioning the jurors, and we'll see. I bet we have a couple jurors by the end of tomorrow.
Karen, one of my favorite shows when I was in college, it was called Cash Cab. And a cab driver would pick up people in Manhattan and say, "You're in the cash cab." And they would start asking questions, and they would win money if they answered the trivia questions correct. You and I maybe should start our own version of former Manhattan District Attorney cab ride, and we could give all of our summaries.
This isn't the first time. This isn't the first time we podcasted from a car, right, Ben? I've done this before.
No doubt about it. Justice Merchan, Karen, taking control of his courtroom, though, today, right? I mean, I think a testament to it being very matter of fact, somewhat even boring, though, despite Donald Trump and Trump's attorneys to create the circus, to create the chaos, though, right? Do you, from way the press is being handled to the way that the parties are able to engage with the press, to the admonitions that are being made, is this a testament to Justice Merchan's ability as a jurist?
Yeah, he's known to be able to control a courtroom. He's known to run a smooth courtroom. He's got a great reputation as a judge. I've said before on our show that his reputation is he's not a people's judge. He's not a defense judge. He's just a law and order judge who follows the law. And when I say that, it's certain judges get reputations in the courthouse. It's like you get sent to, somebody who's really tough, and you're like, oh, that's a people's judge, and you're a prosecutor, and you're glad to be in front of that judge, right? Or you get sent to one of these judges that we would say is a defense attorney in a judge's robe, bends over backwards to give prosecutors a hard time and is very pro-defense. And judges get reputations reputations like that, but not Judge Merchan. Judge Merchan is like a judge's judge, and he's the perfect judge for this case for that reason, because you're going to see down calls that are down the middle, like you did today. There were calls that he made that were very much for Trump and his team, and ones that were for the prosecution and their team, all to get a fair trial for Donald Trump, because that's what Judge Merchan wants more than anything in the world, is a fair trial for the accused. That's what he believes in, and that's what he is going to make sure happens. And so he is absolutely going to ensure that nothing extraneous comes in, nothing irrelevant comes in, and nothing inadmissible comes in. And so that's what he is going to do. He's a great judge.
We got some photographs we'll show our viewers of from one of the sketch artists in the courtroom. You can see some of the photos. We'll put them up. That's Donald Trump and his lawyer, Todd Blanche, right there. We can keep going through some of the other photos as well. There was someone who did a funny AI photo of, by the way, right there, you see Justice Merchan in the background. You see Trump's lawyer, Todd Blanche there. I think that's Emil Bove, Trump's other lawyer, next to him. And then you have the Manhattan District Attorney's team on the other side. There's Donald Trump.
That was Josh Steinglass on the other side. He is not going to be happy with that picture of himself, but that is Josh Steinglass.
You have Donald Trump sleeping there. I think that's one of these sketches of Donald Trump falling asleep during today's proceeding. It was described as Trump sleeping for not just like closing his eyes, but like minutes on end sleeping. Salty, do we have that AI photo of him? Yeah, I mean, this is AI generated. I want to flag that. There are no cameras in the courtroom, but AI envisions it thusly. There you have it there. And then I think the Midas Touch Network did a satirical photo as well of our researchers are furiously working to determine if this photo is real or if this photo is AI. Folks, you're just not going to get this coverage on any other network. And Karen Friedman, Agnifilo, and I will be doing summaries every morning, early in the morning, and then we're going to be doing them in the afternoon. So I want everybody to check back with our live feeds after court's over. This should be your first destination that you go to. Court ends, you should know I got to go to the Midas Touch YouTube channel. This is the main destination for all of your news from the top expert in the field, Karen Friedman, Agnifilo, who was the #2 at the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, served as the acting Manhattan District Attorney for some periods of time, worked in that office for close to 30 years. So right after trial concludes, come right here to our YouTube, and every morning early, come to the Midas Touch YouTube channel. Make sure you're subscribed right now. And look, folks, more people are watching this network than any of the major networks as well. And Karen, it's a testament to your expertise and to this incredible community. If you want to support our reporting here, go to patreon.com/Midas Touch. We're not funded by outside investors. So Patreon, patreon.com/Midas Touch. One more time, it's patreon.com/Midas Touch. Karen Friedman, Agnifilo, kind of final words to everybody out there on what to expect tomorrow, this week. Got a big audience here right now. What can they expect from this coverage as well?
So tomorrow, jury selection will continue, and they're going to work very hard to try and get 12 jurors and 6 alternates who can sit for the duration of this case and who will render a verdict. And we are going to, every single morning, as you said, we are going to tell everybody what you can expect that day. And every day at the end, as soon as it ends, wherever we are, if I'm in a cab, if I'm on a train, or if I'm home or at work, you will have us. I'm going to make sure that we are here to give everybody what happened, in accurate reporting of what happened that day in court, so people can hear for themselves what happened and what is actually, what it means and how important it is.
At 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, there will be the Midas Touch podcast that I host with me and my 2 younger brothers. Make sure you, if you are available, that everybody's watching that. That's 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Karen, you and I will be up bright and early telling everyone what to expect for tomorrow's court hearing. You and I will be back again in the afternoon session. Let's pull up that graphic one more time for everybody watching. This should give you your recap of everything that went down. If you want to take screenshots of it, now is the time. We'll post this on our Patreon, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. We'll post this across the Meidas Touch social media channels, so you can have this as your handy scorecard of what happens each and every day. We will update this list each and every day for you. I'm a graphic learner. I don't know about everybody watching, so it really helps me as well when I see graphics like this that list some of the things, so I can kind of keep it all in check and remember everything that's happening. So Trump trial day one, Trump motion to recuse the judge was denied. Evidence of Trump's catch and kill will be allowed. Trump's subpoena backfires. The Manhattan District Attorney wants Trump in contempt. The judge expedites the contempt hearing to April 23rd. Trump falls asleep. Judge orders Trump to submit his exhibits in 24 hours. Jurors arrive. Trump falls asleep again. 50 of the 96 jurors say they can't be fair. The remainder of the jurors are going through the voir dire process. Karen, I'm sorry. Anything you wanted to add before we go?
No, sorry, I'm actually paying my cab, so sorry I didn't put on mute.
That's the cash cab portion of this. Shout out to that show. I really enjoyed it growing up. Karen Friedman, Agnifilo, it is such an honor. It is so incredible to be doing this show every day, twice a day with you. You have the most experience of anybody, quite literally, in the world. That's what Cash Cab would do when you'd win. You'd hear that noise as well. So Karen's winning the trivia contest as well. Karen, it's an honor to host this with you, and to all the Meidas Mighty out there, it is an honor to be with you all. Make sure you hit subscribe, check in every morning, check in every afternoon. In 7 minutes, we'll be releasing my hot take on Donald Trump falling asleep. So make sure you're on the YouTube channel. You'll click on that. That launches in 7 minutes. And then tonight we've got the Meidas Touch Brother podcast that I do with Brett and Jordy at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Thank you all to the new members who just joined the Meidas Mighty, to the old returning members of the Meidas Mighty. Welcome to this unapologetically pro-democracy community, a law and order community where facts and evidence matter. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ben Meiselas, joined by Karen Friedman, Agnifilo. We will see you soon. Have a great one, and shout out to the Meidas Mighty.
Enough! Send it to the big house, not the White House. Get the new exclusive tees, mugs, and stickers right now at store.meidastouch.com. That's store.meidastouch.com.